What's up, guys? Welcome back to Vanover Customs. Today's video is long overdue. We're going to be going over a channel update, shop update, and just some housekeeping stuff. There won't be any machining content in this video, but it is going to be heavily discussion based. So if that's what you're looking for, feel free to stick around. I'm going to bring you in close, and I got my phone here with a bunch of notes, and we're just going to jump right in. All right, the first elephant in the room I want to address, otherwise I'm going to get a bunch of questions on this, is what's going on with this backdrop. We haven't seen this before in the videos, and that's right, you probably haven't. So we do a fair amount of automotive work here. I know we did a last update last year and a shop tour, and I'm not even sure if there was a lift in that video. We do need to do an updated tour, but behind the camera, so behind where you guys are sitting, we have two automotive lifts here. That is not the main business of our shop. However, since I have done automotive repair for probably close to 15 years at this point, a lot of people know me and a lot of people have me work on their cars. As a result, what is behind me is what you've kind of seen develop through need, and it works very well. So you've seen in the past that I have these beautiful Snap-on toolboxes. I'm a huge Snap-on fanboy, maybe not as much as I used to be, but they make really good product. And so I used to have these maybe like 50 feet away, and as I've expanded in this shop to take over a little bit more space, I figured it makes sense to have this near where I'm working on vehicles. And so I decided to basically make a large bench encasing these toolboxes. Typically these toolboxes are on wheels, and they don't really make a good bench. They are very sturdy, but for a lot of reasons it just doesn't make any sense. So I came up with an idea to use some 3-inch, 3/16 box tubing and build I think it's like a 17-foot long frame. And then I went ahead and mounted the toolboxes into the frame. And then over here on my left side, I had an old Lista cabinet, and I disassembled it and basically welded and fabricated a case so that these drawers could be utilized as well to just kind of increase storage. And then once that was done, I put a 1/2-inch thick top, which I salvaged from my old workbench. So it is 1/2-inch thick, it's about 30 inches deep, and it is 17 feet long. So there are 2 spots on this top where I have joints where I welded and ground together, so it's one continuous piece. And then I mounted my old, which is a pretty good vise, but been replaced with the Fireball vise. It's an old Wilton 8-inch vise that I use pretty much exclusively for automotive and just general repair. And so what this makes is it makes a really nice area where we have all the tools readily accessible. There is a really overkill and beefy worktop, which is really nice, and you probably can't see it, but above me is a jib crane, which you may be able to see the yellow mast on the far end of the frame, and that jib crane will not only reach over both automotive lifts, but will lift over this bench. So when I've done work on lawnmowers or small items, I can get the jib crane in here and lift them from the floor up to this bench. It's probably where I spend about 30 to 40% of my time in this area, which is mostly what you don't see in the videos. And so that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that. I just want to acknowledge it because some people are going to ask about it. And if you have any more questions, post them down below. All right, the first thing I want to address is the channel history, the upload schedule, and kind of where the channel is going to be going. So in order to have this discussion, I want to start at the beginning. So about 4 or 5 years ago, we started the channel. And back then, it was entirely me. My wife, Monica, who's very lovely, was in a couple of the videos. But for the most part, I was editing, producing, doing the work, everything. And it was good. But like a lot of things in life, you work really hard on something you love too long, and you just get burnt out. And between working full-time or over full-time, doing the videos, it was too much work. And so for a year or 2 ago, you guys might have noticed there was a big lull in the videos, and it's just because I needed to take a break. And I also knew that if I was going to move forward with the new shop, and as business got busier, I needed to change the way I did YouTube videos to make it sustainable, right? As much as I would love to live in the past and just sit in my garage and restore things, That frankly is not possible moving forward. So we need to change and adapt in order to maintain what we're doing. And that brings us to today. So what we've changed in the past 8 months is we've brought on my boy Chris. Chris is an amazing friend of mine. I love him very much. I care for him deeply. And he is an amazing editor, an amazing music composer. And so he has taken the helm of editing most of the videos that we're doing. There are still some videos that I do edit, but what happens is I film the videos, and obviously I'm in the videos, but then I send the footage over to him, he edits it, we sit down together, talk about it, and that has worked out really, really well for me. It takes a ton of time to film videos, but it takes just as much time, it seems, to edit them. So to have him be able to step in and help me out has been huge. What it's allowed us to do is to be more consistent. And ultimately, that is what I wanted, and I know that is what all of you guys want. So before, there wasn't a schedule per se in the past, but this year the goal was to really try to release a video every 2 weeks. And so far, I think since we started it, it may not have been in January, it may have been March or February when we started this, we were able to stick to the plan, and I am super thrilled about that. So my plan has shifted less from running a sprint and more in a marathon mindset. So meaning that I want to be able to provide content on a continual basis. It may not be as crazy or as wild. There are still going to be some cool videos, but to be able to provide stuff consistently and to provide it on a regular basis. I would love to get down to once a week, and that is possible, but I'd rather try to master once every 2 weeks and get that under our belt, and then if we want to start adding videos, kind of go from there. So that's the plan moving forward. One video will be released every 2 weeks, and try to give a continual update of content. The other thing I want to talk about is what type of content are we going to be doing, because that has changed as well. So in the beginning, it was basically just me filming whatever projects I was working on, and that was great. I love doing restorations, I love building things, and that will continue, but it will continue at a different capacity. What I want to more focus on moving forward is focusing on the jobs we have coming into the shop and showing that side of things. We are still going to be doing restorations. Probably most of the videos you've watched up until this point have been restoration related. That's okay. I'm very passionate about that. But as the business gets busier, the time for restorations gets pushed more and more to the side. I would love to continue to make time for that, but the reality is it will change. And I also think that watching repair jobs or machining content is also very interesting, and it's very similar to restoration content, but it is different, and I do want to acknowledge that moving forward. So if you guys have noticed the change in content, you kind of know where it's coming from. And just in general, as I grow and develop as a person and a human being, my interests change and develop, and I'm still interested about machining and restoring equipment, but as the business grows, the content will just naturally shift a little bit, and that's very normal. Next on the list, sponsors, a fun topic. Now, I may have an unpopular opinion about this, and I don't really care. The reality is I do not like when a channel goes from doing a bunch of original content to basically being an infomercial. And a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. And there is a little bit of a gray area in there, and you guys probably understand that, right? People do YouTube for a living, and as a result, they rely on money. And here's a reality check if many of you guys don't know this, but you really don't make that much money from YouTube ad revenue. You gotta really be really high up there on a subscriber count and on a view count to be able to sustain yourself off of that. So most of the money comes from what I'll call a pie piece. It comes from different segments on that pie. Sponsors, ad revenue, affiliate links, all that stuff. And that pie makes a large portion of income, and whatever that is for each person, it's different. So sponsors are a portion of that pie, and when you are a YouTuber that's doing it as a full-time job, you have to take sponsorship seriously because it is a portion of that pie. And it is my hope that as the channel grows, if we do take on sponsorships, those sponsorships will only be with products that I either currently have or would buy regardless of affiliation. Up until this point, I have had no real affiliation with sponsors for that reason, because I'm tired of people emailing me asking me to send me junk, and specifically Chinese junk, and have me review it, because it's unrelated to what we're doing on the channel, and I don't like junk, right? If Snap-on reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm gonna send you a bunch of tools, or a Loris or Dorian, you know, that would be different because I use that stuff and I love that stuff, but that's not what's happening, at least not right now. And so I say all that just to say, at this current moment, I haven't had any sponsors that I'm working with directly that you have seen so far. And moving forward, I want to make sure that if I do choose to work with a sponsor, that it reflects my own opinions and I'm not just over here trying to shill products that suck. Now, with all that being said, so far we do have one sponsor that has reached out to me that I am taking seriously and that have offered to give me financial assistance to buy product at their store, and that company is KBC Tools, and I want to be very upfront and honest about that. Now, I will say this about KBC Tools, in all honesty, as I've been with you guys this whole process, they have been very good to work with, right? When they reached out to me, basically what they said is, we're going to give you a certain amount of money, and you can buy whatever you want. As long as we can get it, you can buy it. And you don't have to say anything particular. Just, here's some money, buy whatever you want, and show it in the videos. And to be honest, that is really awesome. It's really great. Now, up until this current moment of me filming this video, even though that money is there, I haven't purchased anything with that money. Now, I probably will. I just haven't been able to get anything that I'm looking for yet. But that is a sponsorship that makes a lot of sense. So moving forward, you may see me reference them. You may not. I haven't decided if I'm going to spend the money yet, but most likely I will, and most likely that will be someone who does affiliate themselves with our channel. Other sponsors have reached out, and I have done nothing with that because I don't want to have products in here that don't make any sense. And I also don't want to turn my channel into a commercial. I'm happy to show you products that I love and that I use. And if I benefit from that, that's great, but I don't want to do that at the cost of becoming an infomercial. And it is a gray area because in this trade and a lot of other trades, people who are passionate about the trade are also passionate about the equipment, right? When I did remodeling, I loved, Milwaukee or Festool, and I love that stuff. Regardless, there was no affiliation, and I wanted to talk about that because I was passionate about good products. And now that I'm doing machining, companies like Loris, they make a great product. Dorian makes good tool posts, right? Hugin or Haugen or however you say it makes great drills. Fireball Tool, obviously I love Fireball Tool. They make great products, right? And so I am happy to share that stuff with you as we go because I love that stuff regardless of sponsorship affiliation. I'm passionate about the tools that I use. And I think that's where the gray area is when you look at a lot of sponsorships. There's a couple large YouTubers, I won't name any names, and you knew who they are, that have gone from doing a couple small sponsorships to a ton, and they catch a lot of flack for that. And I'm not going to get into that, but the reality is that person loves equipment, and they love tools. And even in the beginning, when they didn't have any sponsorships, they were constantly naming each tool that they used because they are passionate about it. And so to say one is right or wrong, it's gray. You definitely know when it seems like a commercial, and that's what I would love to avoid. But when you are passionate about individual products, you're going to be dropping names of individual products regardless of if there's a sponsorship, because that's what you're passionate about. You want to talk about that Dual saw that you just got, or the American pacemaker, because the brand of that is powerful, and also you're passionate about that specific thing. And so I know that was a long-winded conversation about sponsorships, but I want to be thorough and honest in where we are at with sponsorships on the channel currently and where I want to move towards. In an ideal world, I would do no sponsorships, right? I would just buy the products that I want to buy, and that's it. And maybe that's what I'll do. But honestly, if someone calls you up and says, hey, you want to buy a multiple $1,000 tool, we'll send it to you. I mean, that's pretty appealing. And anyone who's whining about that, you know, if someone came up to your door and said, hey, here's a free Miller welder, you know, most people aren't going to turn that down. I've not been offered a free Miller welder, by the way. But my point is that when you're spending a lot of money running a machine shop, to have someone offer you free, high-quality gear is valuable, and it is worth considering. So that's my blurb on sponsorships, and take it for what it's worth. Hilariously, after talking about sponsorships, we get to talk about a product. And I want to highlight this product, and I think that's hilarious because we just talked about sponsorships. But I think it draws a really good point. So this is a product that I haven't used, and I'm not going to give you a review or an unboxing. That's not what my channel's about. But I've wanted a mag drill for a really, really long time, and I finally got one because we have a job, and it was very expensive. They didn't sponsor me. I tried to buy one of these through the sponsor we just talked about, KBC Tools. They didn't have this brand in stock. They tried to offer me an Evolution, and I didn't want it. So instead of using some of the money that they would have given me to purchase this, I used my own money, and I purchased this because I want the specific brand. And that's why we're talking about it. So I looked at a bunch of mag drills, and they do have some more expensive options from other brands. But to my knowledge, Hugin is a really well-reputable brand. It's made in the USA, and this is kind of like the Mac Daddy of all the drills that they have. And the main reason why you want one of these, if you run a fabrication shop specifically, is drilling holes in thick plate or large pieces of equipment where you can't get it under a machine. And I've lived without one for a while, and I probably could, you know, make it maybe another year, but you kind of need one. And so I've been putting it off because a nice one is expensive. And I bought this, and I bought some cutters, carbide tipped cutters, and a drill chuck adapter. We're looking at like 3 G's right here, ton of money. You can get a Chinese one of these, I don't even know, super cheap, $200 or $300. They're not even close to comparison. And I wanted to do it right, like I like to do everything, or most things I should say, and get something that's quality, that's made well, that when I have children, I can pass it on and it can still be used and be serviced. And that's what we did here. So I haven't used this yet, but the reason that I bought this is because I have a line boring job coming up. We need to do some line boring. I'm going to use the mag drill to attempt to do some line boring because I'm not going to buy a line boring tool yet, hopefully in the future. But we're going to start out with this because it'll achieve the task. And also, I needed one anyway, and so it kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone. So just very briefly, it is a HMD 920. I have 0 affiliation with this company. I've never used the product. But I know it's not one of those things where it's like, hey, we'll see if it's good. It's going to be good. We don't need to see if it's good. This is a USA-made product, and if it's not good, it's going back. It's going to be good. The only problem with this specific model is it's super heavy. I knew that getting into it, but it's not great if it's needing to be something we were doing it overhead, which is, of course, the first job we got. It's how my luck seems to run. But other than that, it's got all the bells and whistles. So the first thing is it has a really hefty motor, and it will turn a 2 and like 3/8 inch diameter cutter. I don't know why you'd need to cut a hole that big, but I always like to buy the biggest option available. And specifically, since we're going to use it to run a line boring bar, I wanted to have as much power and torque as possible. It also has a swivel base, which is really nice. You just kind of like, you can clamp it down and like swivel it so that if you need to align on a hole, you can do that, which is really convenient, specifically when it's clamped sideways or horizontal or vertical, I mean. That's really nice. It has a really nice tight action in the handle, and the motor has a 3-speed clutch, which is really nice because most of them are single speed, a couple of them are 2-speed, not that many of them are 3-speed. So it has a 250, a 450, and a 750, and other than that, it's not that fancy, doesn't have too many bells and whistles. It just should be solid, heavy, and heavy duty, and get some really good work done. I wanted to share it with you because it is an expensive new tool for the shop, and it's something that I bought brand new and I've wanted for quite a long time, so I'm really, really excited to put it to work. And just something as simple as popping a hole in this table would have been really nice to have this, because once I made this and put it in place, it's a pain in the butt. So when I needed to drill holes for my vise and drill these big 1-inch holes, something like this would have been really, really nice. So I'm excited to put this to work. I'm sure you're going to see it in future videos. And just based on how this looks and feeling the quality of it, I would highly recommend any Hugin drills. They are more expensive than the competitors, but I think you get what you pay for, and I think I'm going to be very happy with the quality. So without anything other to say about that, we'll move on to the next topic. All right, guys, you probably noticed that I'm standing in a big open spot, and I'm not going to tell you what's going here yet, but you will find out if it works out. So I did purchase a large piece of equipment at auction, and we have made a spot for it next to one of the lifts, and hopefully it will work out. But moving this piece of equipment is going to be a little bit of a task. I did purchase the equipment very, very cheap, and it does run, and it does operate, and it does come with tooling. However, it's probably going to cost about 10 times what I paid for the machine to get it moved from where I purchased it onto a transport truck and off a truck and moved into position. So that is one of the large things happening in the shop this year. Honestly, it is very unexpected. I had it on my list of goals, as I have every year. I make a list of goals of equipment that I want to purchase, things I want to do with the channel, other life goals that I have. I always keep a list, and it was on that list for the beginning of this year, but I knew it was a daunting task. And about midway through the year, when we went back to the goals, I took it off the list because I thought it just wasn't going to happen. And I was totally content with that. And unexpectedly, I logged into an auction, and one that I was watching came up, and no one was bidding on it. Or I'm sorry, there was one person who put the initial bid on, and for better or for worse, I put a second bid, and no one else bid on it. And I won it for a very, very cheap price. And so I was definitely not expecting it, but I think it's going to be something that's going to be really, really cool and be able to take our shop to the next level in terms of capabilities. So that is something that's coming up as far as new and exciting things in the shop. There are a lot of other things going on around the shop. I'm not going to give too many details because I'm not quite sure in which the order that this video will be released. But currently we are working on the Lion lathe project. And another thing that I was not planning on this year is getting into scraping. I have had that on my goal list for 2 or 3 years, but it is kind of expensive, and I wanted to get a power scraper, and I needed a surface plate, and I needed a bunch of things, and one thing kind of led to another like it always does, and I was starting the Lion lathe project, and I decided it would be a good chance to start scraping, and so I went down that rabbit hole. So I don't know if you've seen the scraping videos yet, or they're going to be coming out later, but I am working on some scraping videos. I did acquire a Biax power scraper, which has been on my goal list for quite a while, and I'm very happy about that, and did acquire some other scraping stuff that you'll be seeing. So we do have that going on in the shop. Again, we've talked about the Lion project. I do have it half disassembled, but we are working on that. I'm very excited about that. So between the scraping aside, the Lion lathe project, and this large piece of equipment that's going to be coming here, we have a lot of exciting things going on this year, and a lot of things that frankly I wasn't planning on, but I think are going to make for a lot of really cool content and some stuff that I'm really, really excited about. And that's something that you guys have probably noticed, but I don't know how much I've directly said, is I absolutely love this stuff. I am extremely passionate about it. I'm a pretty driven person, and I'm an all or nothing guy. If I'm not into something, I'm not into it. And if I'm into it, I go hard. It's what I think about, it's what I do, it's the goals I make, and it's the stuff that I want to spend my time doing. And so machining and building things, that's something that I am very, very excited about. And while most people are probably laying in bed at night thinking about other things or spending their time doing that, I'm thinking about equipment that I want to get, things I want to do with the business, projects. That's just the way that my brain works. And so kind of like in summary, this year has been very crazy in terms of new equipment and new projects, but I think what it's going to do is it's going to create a lot of really cool content that you guys are going to see, and it's stuff that I'm very, very excited about. If you look at what has happened in the last 2 years, most of the goals that I had made 5 years ago are kind of coming into fruition in this year and last year, and it has been really, really cool and exciting to see. I've been working really hard for a really long time, and you get worn down, and to see a lot of these goals start to come through, it is kind of like the water that you need in the desert. And so I'm really excited for the work that we've been doing. I'm excited for the jobs that we have coming in. I'm excited for the projects that we got going on and for the new equipment that we're going to be going over. And I hope that you guys are going to enjoy what we have coming up. So if you have any other questions or comments, please post them down below. I know this is a video that not many people are going to watch. I'm totally fine with that. But the right people will really appreciate it, just to kind of check in and see what's going on with Vanover Customs, because there's a lot going on. So hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you in the next one.